Tại thế mình bị mất mạng ngay lập tức khoảng 2 phút sau khi mà bắt đầu là ấn live. Mặc dù là bây giờ mình đang dùng wifi này, cái mạng dây này có một vấn đề gì đấy mà mình chưa hiểu, còn đôi lúc nó bị có thể bị conflict cái nhà ở đấy nên là nó bị đứt đột ngột. Mặc dù là cái cục wifi này có mỗi mình, cái cục modem này, cục router này là mỗi mình dùng thôi. Bây giờ mình đang dùng wifi. Rồi quay trở lại, bắt đầu lại từ đầu. Thì đáng lẽ hôm nay là buổi thứ 9, là kết thúc 3 tuần, nhưng mà mình vừa nghỉ một buổi hôm thứ tư, cho nên hôm nay buổi thứ 8 thôi. Buổi thứ tư vừa rồi ấy, thì mình có đi ăn đám cưới về muộn nên là không live được. Buổi đấy là cái buổi mà đi ăn bữa phụ thôi, và bữa chính thì là hôm qua thứ 5. Thì bởi vì là đám cưới của gia đình ấy, cho nên là gặp rất là nhiều người thân, và mình cũng chuẩn bị được trước rồi và biết là phải uống rất là nhiều rồi. Nhưng mà cái đoạn nửa cuối mình uống hơi nhanh quá. Mình chưa say đâu, nhưng mà mình bị uống nhanh và một là bị no, và thứ hai là bắt đầu líu. Thì khi lúc đấy thì cô dâu, nhà cô dâu đến, cô dâu chú rể đến bàn mình để chúc mừng ấy. Thì mình đứng ngay cạnh chú rể, bởi vì mình chưa gặp chú rể bao giờ. Mình đến cạnh chú rể, mình ngồi, chú rể đứng, mình ngồi. Mình nói là chúc sức khỏe. Kiểu trong đầu mình nghĩ là cái việc, trong đầu mình không biết mình không biết lúc đấy mình nghĩ gì nữa, nên mình nói là chúc sức khỏe. Và ngay sau khi nói, mình có nhận ra là mình đã làm sai, nên mình ngay lập tức mình muốn sửa chữa. Và câu nói tiếp theo ấy, nó còn sai hơn nữa, bởi vì mình đã bị líu rồi mà. Nên là mình nói là chúc mừng năm mới. Và lúc này là mình biết là mình nên dừng, mình không nên nói thêm bất cứ những gì nữa. Không biết là có ai nghe được không, bởi vì ở đấy có chú rể, hoặc là chú rể cũng kiểu hơi mệt, mình cũng hơi mệt mỏi ấy. Và nếu mà có nghe được thì không biết có nhớ không, nhưng mà thực sự đấy là một cái khoảnh khắc mà mình không biết trốn đi đâu. Rồi tính đến bây giờ mình dùng wifi vẫn chưa drop được 3 phút rồi, mình hy vọng là nó sẽ ổn. Hôm nay thì mình xem một cái clip phỏng vấn một người làm phim chuyên nghiệp. Anh này thì anh đấy trước đã làm phim rồi, tuy nhiên anh ấy tên là Denmark, DANMACE. Thì cái hồi mà Casey Neistat là một YouTuber mà rất là nhiều người biết. Cái hồi mà Casey dừng làm vlog, và khi Casey quay lại làm vlog thì có sự tham gia của anh này. Trước đấy là Casey làm một mình. Anh này, bạn này ở Denmark này, mình nghĩ cũng xem tuổi mình. Sorry, chưa chỉnh lại cái màn hình này. Chỉnh personal, personal, hết rồi. Từ chat xem có lên nào. Rồi thì D 34 tuổi, hơn mình 1 tuổi. Thì anh này đợt đấy sao nó vẫn bị cái này à? Rồi, đợt đấy thì anh này làm như là một người về edit cũng như là quay phụ một phần nhỏ cho Casey. Rồi sau đấy được một thời gian, mình không nhớ chính xác là bao nhiêu lâu, nhưng mà cũng vài tháng gì đấy, rồi anh ấy dừng lại. Anh ấy dừng lại một thời gian làm cho kênh YouTube của anh ấy thôi. Và sau đấy nữa là có làm phụ trách cái kênh về philanthropy là từ thiện, đại khái như thế, cho MrBeast. Nên mọi người mình thấy là khá là thú vị là một, và thứ hai là rất là giỏi ấy. Nên là mình muốn hôm nay mình quyết định mình sẽ xem cái podcast của anh đấy, về anh đấy. Rồi, bắt đầu nha. Khi bắt đầu mới tắt nhạc đi, cho cái này sang bên này. Rồi.
The phone rings at like 1 o'clock in the morning and it says Jimmy Mr. Beast. He was like, I want you to take over the channel.
Whatever we upload, I'm fully leaning on him.
What did you learn from him about making better videos?
How deep do you want me to go here?
Deep. I mean, there's so many people who want you to work for them. You've been hired by Casey Neistat.
Dan is like
Yep.
a creative genius.
Daily vlogging with Casey, chaos, absolute chaos. Dad, hurry up! Throw the camera. Give me 20 angles. It's like having a child, right? That's weird to say. Casey's a person that understands story the same way Hemingway understands story.
What are the things that you learned from Casey about how to tell a great story on YouTube?
Wait until you hear the story.
You're very good at what you do.
I feel like you're one of the most celebrated and creative people when it comes to video, period.
No,
yeah,
that's
no.
not-
You're very humble. You've been hired by Casey Neistat to work on a lot of his videos.
Yeah.
You've now been hired by Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many people who want you to work for them. You also have a ton of creative work that you've put out that I want to dive into. I wanted to start by asking, what was that text message you got from Casey where he's like, come work for me?
How deep do you want me to go here?
Deep.
Like way back?
Yes.
Okay, jeez.
Or
Okay,
like that moment.
Okay, well, how's about this? Let's shape this answer with a cold open.
Okay.
Okay. So I get this text from Casey that says, Tusker ad was ace. So psyched to meet. I'll be in Cape Town soon. That's it. Now do I go into my whole story?
Well, let's talk about the pieces of that because I think there's a lot of things. What is the Tusker ad that you're referring to?
Okay, so-
that Casey saw is like, I need this guy to work on my videos.
Okay, yeah,
And bring him
so-
all the way from South Africa, which is where you were
Yeah.
living at the time.
I'd been in the traditional world as a film, like, it's weird to quote, so let's divide these two. The traditional world that we speak of
Yeah.
is assigned director that would work in a traditional sense in TV commercials or making movies.
Yes, yeah.
And then the non-traditional world is what I would refer to as YouTube, what we're doing right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
right?
And I want to brag for you because you won the Cannes Award, which is one of the most prestigious awards for being the best young director. Essentially like the Christopher Nolan,
I
like
won
Steven
3 of
Spielberg.
them.
3 of them.
I'm
3 of
sure
them.
do not use me
dude.
saying that.
You're fact checking me. You won 3 awards for being one of the best young directors when it comes to advertising in the world.
Yeah.
And then Casey calls you because of an ad that you made with Tusker, which is a beer company.
Yeah,
Right? Right.
yeah. Yeah, I was just like sort of
Cái
on
này mình không
Casey's
biết này.
radar. I was just like probably like I don't know, just like some dude. And then he saw the Tusker ad. Then he wanted to meet. And Casey is how do I say that? He's I love Casey to bits. He's the most incredible man I know, honestly. But he's crazy. Like he will run up a mountain that's not meant to be run up. Do you know what I mean? Like, so he'll be like, let's meet on Lion's Head, which is this like famous mountain in Cape Town, but he'll have the meeting while running,
Oh, wow.
and you know, like, and you got to try keep up with him, and he's like shouting and stuff. Like that's a very Casey thing to do. And it's funny, like Casey said on a Rich Roll podcast.
Một cái điều nhỏ đó là Casey chính là người mà mình khiến cho mình chạy bộ. Cách đây 8 năm, 2015 khi mà Casey bắt đầu làm vlog. Mình còn nhớ lúc đấy mình mới vào Sài Gòn và mình bắt đầu tập gym. Thì mình chọn chạy bộ coi như là một phần trong việc cardio trong tập gym. Nhưng mà sau đấy thì mình coi chạy bộ nó nghiêm túc hơn, chia phần nó nhiều hơn.
And Casey's like brutally honest, which I love about him. And he tells the story, like how he brought me on, and I was a celebrated film director, and he thought that it would make the work that he's doing so much easier, but it made it twice as hard. And I agree with it because like I came on board with Casey. I came from a position where I was like sitting on a chair, watching a monitor, and telling like a big crew of people what to do. Just prior to that, I was doing the the IPL ad, like the main IPL commercial. It's like we had like 800 extras on set. You know, a team of 300 people working, and a celebrated director with a big head and stuff. And then I go into New York City, flinging a camera around, and Casey like shouting me like, "Dan, hurry up! Like, hurry the fuck up! What are you doing?" I'm like, I'm like on a boosted board, like navigating my way through the city, and there was like a lot of moments. I'm like, "What the fuck am I doing? Like, should I be here or should I have stayed in the film directing world?" And it got really deep. Like I've got a video of myself crying weirdly. I don't know. I was like, I'm gonna watch this one day because I was sad that day. And I used to phone Gabby, my wife. She wasn't my wife at the time. And I used to phone her and go like, this is the hardest fucking work I've ever done in my life. Like daily vlogging with Casey, you cannot, like, there's no ways I can describe it. It's like having a child, right? That's weird to say. I was gonna make you can't explain what it's like having a child until you have a child. You cannot explain what it's like to work with Casey until you've worked with Casey. Okay, there are so many great parts about it, but there's also you've got to be on his wavelength, which I don't think really anyone else in the world is. Like Casey will run 20 miles randomly. Like you'll get to work and he'll put his running shoes.
Với Casey thì bởi vì mình là người mà theo dõi rất là nhiều năm tất cả những cái vlog của Casey là thứ nhất, và thứ hai nữa là mình xem từ đợt đầu khi mà Casey mới có vài trăm nghìn sub, vài trăm nghìn sub, thì cho nên là để nói với Casey thì nhiều lắm. Chỉ là cái tranh ở nhà mình cũng là cái tranh mà mình lấy cảm hứng từ Casey. Tuy nhiên ấy, nếu mà có đều một điều mà mình muốn nói ngay bây giờ, đó là một người rất là hustle, rất là làm việc, rất là work hard, đúng không? Như anh ấy đang nói, như Dan đang nói. Tuy nhiên Casey đã bị burnout. Đó là một cái ví dụ cho cái thấy là có thể nói là một người mà làm việc chăm chỉ nhất trên thế giới này, một trong những người làm việc chăm chỉ nhất trên thế giới này cũng có thể bị burnout, thì bạn không mạnh như bạn nghĩ đâu.
She's only gonna be like, I'll see you later, you know, and off he'll go. Pew. And he'll be back like 2 hours later. He's like, just did 20 miles, yeah, feeling good, you know, like he's just that's who Casey is. So it was stark contrast for me, going, and there was a lot of back and forth, and I think I don't even know what the question was now.
Take us through like maybe a video with Casey that you guys worked on, because I think most people don't see the behind the scenes. They just see the amazing views and the cinematography and the storytelling. What was a video like?
Oh, by the way, before we do that, I'm wearing my hat backwards because John said that I was going to create a shadow in my. I usually don't do it, so I think this is me trying to like look too cool.
Okay,
You know
you
what
can
I
flip it front if you want.
No, but now that I look cool, I'm just going to keep it this way.
Yeah. I think you always look cool, man. So.
Oh, thanks, man. But anyways, that's what goes on behind the scenes with Casey,
Yeah.
right? Chaos. That's the word. Absolute chaos. I have no idea. Like, we arrived. I think the way that we were doing it is we shoot the video. We backlogged by one day. So obviously we're not putting what we shot that day. We're not putting out the next day. We're putting the video out we shot the day before. So it does get confusing story-wise. People misuse the term story. We can speak about what story like means, I guess, later on.
Yeah.
But there's only a few people that understand story. And Casey's the person that understands story the same way Hemingway understands story, in its most simple form. Casey can tell a story about a carpet. Do you know what I mean? It'll be interesting. He would just, like, I still don't know how he does it. And if you ever ask Casey this idea, he'll probably slap you if you say, like, where do your ideas come from? Like, what's your inspiration? Do you know what I mean? Like, he hates that idea, so I never asked it. I heard other people ask it, and then him just, like, not answer, and then him be like, I hate that question, so just never. So no one ever knows. It's a big mystery. Where does Casey Neistat's ideas come from? I guess it comes from when he runs and stuff, because when he came back from Iran, he'll have an idea.
Mm.
And it'll be like out of nowhere, it'll be like, oh yeah, I've had this drone sitting here with this other thing. Why don't we attach a pizza to it, like a pizza slice, and then go and try and deliver pizza?
Mm.
And you can play that video, like that pizza slice, like Casey connected the thing on wrong. So like when it had this like pin, but it's supposed to be the other way around, so it just released the pizza, but it released the whole thing, and I'm underneath it. I'm like, bring it down, and I'm looking at the camera going like this, and the whole thing like whacked me, and like the pizza slapped me on the head, and the other part like hit me on the head. So that's like one moment I can remember from that whole thing, because that's like a big blur. We hardly slept. A day would start off super early. Like Casey would wake up at like 4 a.m, and we would only finish the night before maybe at like 1 a.m, you know?
Wow.
It's like 3 hours of sleep. Casey would say, a wise man, only a fool sleeps when he can, and what is the thing? A wise man sleeps when he has to. A fool, fuck it.
Oh.
Pull up the quote. I even wrote it like in a blog post recently. Casey would do these things where he would sit on a couch and sleep for 7 minutes. Like legit. And these things where he would sit on a couch and sleep for 7 minutes. There's reason.
A fool sleeps when he tired. A wise man sleeps when he can.
Casey would do these things where he would sit on a couch and sleep for 7 minutes. Like legit. And you'd be like, Danny boy, like we can, like let's nod off for 7 minutes. I'm like, dude, I need to prepare for sleep. Like I got this whole thing. Like I got a ritual before you get me down, you know? And Casey would just nod off. And his alarm would go, and he's like, let's go. And like next minute you off. I'm like, what are we doing? He's like, don't worry about it. Just grab the camera. And that's pretty much what it was like.
Wait, his full night's sleep would be 7 minutes sometimes?
No. It depends, but I would say on average you'd probably sleep like 3 hours.
Wow.
And then like increments of 7 minutes throughout the day.
Wow.
Like anytime we're in a
Thế là mình
camp,
không tin, ngủ 3 tiếng không tin,
on.
thực sự.
Anytime
Bởi
we
vì
like
khoa học chứng minh
like
là
not shooting, he would be sleeping.
Wow.
It's quite funny. I've got so many videos of him just sleeping, like nodding off everywhere. But that's the daily vlog life. I do not suggest that at all, and I don't think that it's sustainable. And I think you've seen it time and time again. People that have done it
Yeah.
have only
hồi trước ý, thì mình trong quá trình mà mình xem Casey ý, thì mình cũng biết là cái việc làm vlog nó rất là khó, cho nên là mình đã từng có ý tưởng là mình sẽ làm vlog khoảng 7 ngày hay 30 ngày gì đấy. Thì tự dưng bây giờ mình nhớ lại, bởi vì sau rất là nhiều năm mà mình vẫn chưa làm. Mình có ý tưởng làm cái đấy bởi vì mình muốn thử sức xem là mình sẽ làm được cái gì trong 30 ngày đấy. Đấy là một cái điều mà mình muốn làm nữa, và bây giờ mình đã bỏ ngang.
lasted 4 years. Maybe Casey's that, I don't know if he's the longest lasting ever.
No, there's
Maybe.
people who have daily vlog longer, but I would say that Casey's videos individually, probably pound for pound, are
Like very intense. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's by miles the best daily vlogger that there's ever been, in my opinion. And also then he kept them going. We missed like 1 or 2 days, and like the reason we would miss those days is like it was either like heavy travel, or like one of us was really sick or something.
Yeah.
One day like a memory card got deleted,
oh,
and he blamed it on me and I blamed it on him. That's still the mystery. I think it was me. Yeah, he won't mind now because it's way past that time, but I'm pretty sure I formatted that card. But I just lied. Yeah, so I still haven't answered the question. You see, that's a very difficult question to answer because every day was completely different. I would just make sure that my phone was on loud, because like I made a different ringtone. Do people still call it a ringtone?
sure, yeah.
Because that sounds old school.
No,
You
no,
did
no.
that shrug thing.
I'm with you. You and I are like the same age, so I'm with
Okay.
you, yeah.
What else would it be called now? Dial tone?
I think that's even old school. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A ringtone.
Yeah.
I changed my vibration mode
Yeah.
and like ringtone to specific Casey. You know, like this is when that thing rings like that,
Oh,
you
interesting.
answer that. Because I'll be like, you know, what time are we meeting? You'll be like, I'll call you. And I'm like, but I'm from traditional world. I'm used to a schedule and a movement order and a producer
A
going,
call sheet,
yeah,
yeah.
that was very stressful. And you'll just phone sometimes, like 5 in the morning. He's like, we're off. We're going to Montreal
Wow.
or something, you know. We're off to London. Like the one time we were busy making a documentary for Shawn Mendes. I found out like, I don't know, less than the day before kind of thing. We're off to London. And I left my I lost 2 computers during that time. I was going around. I lost bags at the airport. I was so sleep deprived. I didn't even know who I was. I was one time in an airport lounge and I started unpacking my bag because I thought we were in a hotel room.
Yeah.
You know, like it was crazy. So to answer your question, you don't actually know anything that's going to happen that day. And you just have to be prepared.
Yeah.
Casey was always like, it's like going to war pretty much. Like you've got to just be you have to be ready for anything, because the story would be very simple from here to here. Today we're going to fly this pizza drone. How do you make that entertaining? Then there will be all of the stuff that New York City is like, it's so dense with culture. It's dense with little micro narratives along the way. So Casey's really good at like finding these little parts to make a story about a drone with a pizza on it. So much more. You've just got to be prepared for anything. And like, I remember when I started and I didn't get the shot, he'd get so angry. Oh, he would get angry. And I'd feel like I've just let the whole world down, you know? Like, and I missed a lot of shots in the beginning. And then I kind of learned how to be more adaptable to kind of what Casey was looking for, but you would never get it.
Yeah.
It's like working with any creator, as soon as you employ somebody to try and pursue your vision, they're never going to be able to do it right. You're going to have to sacrifice a bit of that. And Casey wouldn't ever abandon that part of his creativity to make things easier. If you looked at it as a spectrum like that, he would take the edit over from me most of the time because it just wasn't his style, and I couldn't do it that way. And it was really humbling because like I came from this career where I thought I was really good, and there was parts of the time when I was with Casey I was like, fuck, I don't actually feel good at all. And like maybe I'm not good at this, and it just took me a while to realize that I just wasn't really good at his style.
Yeah.
You know, and he's the only person that can do it.
I think that's something that, I mean, as we've grown our team, as other creators I've interviewed, like training the person to replicate your style is one of the hardest things. I'm curious, what are the things that you learned from Casey about how to tell a great story on YouTube?
It's so crazy because Beast and Casey are so different.
Yeah.
And I've had to adapt to the Beast way of telling stories. So I'm trying to tap back into the way of thinking about storytelling how Casey would. I think the best way, I'm going to coin this phrase because someone asked me earlier, interested is interesting. I think it's like, so remember the first ever viral video? I'm pretty sure, well, for me, the first ever viral video that I saw was the double rainbow.
It's a full rainbow all the way. Double rainbow. Oh my God. It's a double rainbow all the way.
Yeah.
Everybody's seen a double rainbow.
Yeah.
That video went viral because of the man's reaction to the double rainbow. He was enthusiastic about the rainbow. Like Casey,
sao mạng nó lại mất? Đang xem cuốn mà. Rồi.
his content and what he does is he's just so interested in it that it becomes interesting. He dives deeply into stuff, and he's got like, you know, I mean, everybody's different. The mechanics of the way in which somebody tells a story is very based upon their understanding of what the audience perceives of them and what they like. And I think maybe it takes some time to figure that out. And Casey, remember, had started on Snapchat, and he was doing these daily Snapchat videos, and that was really wise. I mean, everything Casey does is wise, and it sounds like I'm fanboying out on Casey, but he is just really incredible. So he was kind of able to figure out like the whole glasses thing, you know, like I'm going to do these, I'm going to have these identifiable this identifiable iconography that says Casey Neistat.
Oh, you're talking about his sunglasses that he etched with the white.
Sunglasses, like the whole thing. Like he was very wise about every single thing that he did, and that's all embedded into storytelling.
Yeah.
So if you think about like how do you introduce something, how do you the mood, or like he designed all of that where it didn't have to be introduced. Everything was done as Casey's almost like a crazy scientist, right? And his studio is that space where he can express himself. And he can build anything, and he can do anything, and he can throw shit around.
Yeah.
So that's the character you already know. Like, he doesn't need to explain any of that. So it makes sense. And interested is interesting. I think that's the most important thing I learned. Like, he would make anything be interesting because of his enthusiasm about what it is that he was doing. And when he would build something, he would do it in such a relatable way. Or actually, it's more like a way in which every person could wish that they would build something that you get from IKEA. Casey would just not like there's an instruction manual and you can like drill the pieces in. He would just take super glue and like jam each piece. I'm like, bro, that table's gonna last for a day. But it didn't matter, and people like to see that. It's unexplored, this sort of thing that they maybe can't do.
What else did Casey do deliberately that most people would assume happened by accident? Like the glasses thing is interesting because it's like, oh, he just puts on glasses one day, but it's such a fixture of who he is on camera. It's such an identifiable feature.
The way in which the vlog was designed is, remember, Casey comes from a filmmaking background,
right.
and he's surrounded by exceptionally smart film directors. The Safdie brothers, Max Joseph, Thomas Sachs, his brother Van. So he could lean on a bunch of these people, and Oscar Boyson. So like when growing up in New York City, he got to experience the process of filmmaking with a group of super skilled film directors and filmmakers. Because of that, he took a lot of filmmaking techniques that would be used in the traditional world, like a simple zoom in when he's saying something impactful. It had never been done in a vlog before. Or he would do 20 angles of him just walking up the stairs because it's interesting and it could cut to the music, which is very Darren Aronofsky style, or actually more Guy Ritchie. So he took a lot of filmmaking techniques that would still be interesting in the space of YouTube and embed those into his videos. So and then when it comes to him as a character, he definitely created the caricature, Casey Neistat. He's very much the same person in real life as he is in the videos, but obviously, if he's having a shitty day and he has to film a video, he's not gonna be all morbid in a video. He can easily switch it on and become the Casey Neistat character. I struggle with that hugely, and I think a lot of people do, and I think Casey's a great performer as well. He's a great entertainer. He created these, like exactly like Nasir Nas Daily, right? He's done it with the shirt. It's an identifiable thing, and that's
right. The percentage of life that he's lived.
You will see that without his face on it, and it doesn't matter. Like you'll be like, okay, cool. I'm interested in this content already. It's like the 4 chords in music, the same 4 chords, just in different keys. But like that, you've probably fallen in love once on the 4 chords. It's a nostalgic thing. So once you attach an object to something that once made you release some form of oxytocin or feel something transformed you in some way, that object will carry through all the videos. That's me only breaking it down. You're really good at asking questions because like it opens up these doors of things. I felt so wise there for a second. I was like, whoa, is this my mouth?
You are wise, man. And these observations are fascinating. Take me just really quick, then I want to go back to just talking about you. Those moments when like you mentioned that moment when Casey walks down the street and there's like 10 different angles of it. How long does it take to shoot that?
Bro, that is the most intense. So he would throw the camera at me. Like literally, that's the first time.
Like we're talking about DSLR or like an iPhone camera?
No, like a camera on the Gorilla Pod. Like you always have the camera. So there's always like a camera in his bag, and then I would have a camera. But if I didn't have the camera, he would like throw the camera and like just hope for the best that I'll catch it. And he'd be like, Dad, give me 20 angles of this thing. And I'm like there and there and there and there and there and like just sprinting around trying to do that. You know what it's like? People look at you in the airport. And
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
like, what is this guy
Is
doing?
Casey doing that walk 20 times to get that one shot?
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that's obviously like sometimes we would like if he's walking to his studio, it's easier to set cameras up. But if we're traveling somewhere, yeah, for sure, he's redoing the thing over and over.
Over and over again,
Yeah.
just to give us as viewers different angles.
Yeah, that's all for the viewer. That's like that's all for the. It's the same thing as like in a scripted film.
Yeah.
How, you would do all the different angles because it makes the transition into the next place that much more seamless.
smoother,
Nobody
yeah.
wants to see someone walking. You know what I
Mm.
mean? But we had to get from point A to point B. Guy Ritchie would do it in a great way of like with diegetic sounds. It's like you would see the plane wheels going. You would see a seatbelt going. You would see someone downing a whiskey, and then you would hear like I don't know some British anthem or something. And you're like, oh, he's got there.
Yeah.
Casey's way of getting from point A to point B is like multiple angles of him just walking.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's fascinating how you can make something ordinary look extraordinary just by setting up the shots differently.
Oh yeah.
Dan, I know a lot of people who work for creators want to be creators themselves. Was any part of you regretful that you're like, I'm doing this, but you sacrificed so much? I mean, you had a celebrated career before you went to work for Casey. And maybe for the beginning, you're like, okay, you got to work with Casey Neistat, check that off your box. But what made you stay? Like, did you want to ultimately leave and like really take YouTube seriously on your own? Or did you want to stay with him like long term? Like, what was keeping you going in those nights that were exhausting, those days that were consuming? Like, talk about that.
Yeah, that was the first time where I had this like mental image in my head of walking up this steep cliff and like literally feeling such pain without it being physical pain. It was like mental struggle. And then I'd entered the mist and I was like, the top can be so close or it can be so far away. And there was many points where I was gonna just quit and head back and be like, screw this. And I knew that I'd always have this other career that I could return to.
Right.
But I burnt a few bridges, obviously going over with Casey because I left a bunch of production companies and that. So that was a big struggle for me. Every time, you're always gonna look at the grass is greener on the other side. The brain is very good at forgetting bad shit.
Yeah.
Or uncomfortable shit.
Yeah.
So, like, every time something was uncomfortable with Casey, the comforts of the traditional world suddenly, like, sprung up, and I was like, oh my word, I missed this, I missed that. And every time something great with Casey happened, which I'm trying to think of moments like sleep, like when I go to sleep. No, I'm joking. When I would learn, I would constantly learn, and I wrote a lot. Like, that's when I started reading and writing. And I didn't even know how I had time really. That would be on the plane or late at night, and I became the most curious I ever had been about becoming a really good filmmaker. Prior to that, everything was just luck. Like, I understand that I was born with some sort of talent to be able to make films or whatever, but so much of it was luck. Like, the way I ended up there, the way that I got the Tusker ad, all that other stuff before, like.
I don't buy that. I think like a lot of times I interview people, like luck is when opportunity meets preparation.
Yeah.
And I think like,
of
you
course,
have like, a lot of
like,
preparation, a lot of hard work. But yeah, I'm curious, like because you now have a very successful YouTube channel. You started to get sponsorships, like you've been able to work with Discovery. Like, how did you like go about like tell me about like the end of your work with Casey and the beginning of you really coming into your own as a YouTube creator.
Cool. Yeah.
Từ mình nhớ là Dan này không ra clip đều đặn mà. Dan mình có sắp, đúng rồi, vẫn sắp kênh của có clip này thì gần đây thôi và mình chưa xem, nhưng mà đây 7 tháng 1 năm này. Đây là clip ở kênh của Mr. Beast. Rồi.
I don't think that my YouTube channel is very successful, but thank you. Though.
It is.
In
It
comparison
is.
to like where the channel
I
that
think
I'm
it's
working on right now, like it's like very small.
But I think when you look back, like that's how you measure progress, is like how you look
Sure,
at your past.
yeah. But it went like this, and then we like,
No, but Dan, I mean, you're very humble, but I look at your channel and I see the way you tell stories and you bring in different graphics and animations and your shots. And to me, like our team looks at it and we're like, wow, how can we do something different? How did you start diving into YouTube more post Casey? And then when did you get the phone call from Mr. Beast?
Okay, this is going to be a long one. So I was like, I remember Casey saying to me when I started, and he was like, "You're going to be in the vlog though," and I was like, "That's cool, like whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, but that's going to come with some like version of fame. People are going to ask you for photos and stuff." And I was like, "Why? You know, like why would that be a thing? Like I'm just like this, like a friend in the vlog." And that started happening. Like people were like, "Dan," you know, they didn't know me for being a filmmaker. They just knew me as Casey's friend.
Right.
And like that's a lot. Like most of the people that recognize me is because of that. There's like this every now and then there's a filmmaker that goes like, you know, I appreciate your filmmaking work, and I appreciate you saying what you said. Thanks.
Really?
But yeah, I started to learn about this like YouTube fame. And then people would like hit me up and be like, "Yo, can you say a speech at like a conference and stuff?" I'm like, "Okay." And so I ended up at this big like talk somewhere in like Ireland or something. It was Ireland, yeah. I can't remember what something about video, the power of video, of something like that. We can put it up here. I hope I didn't say it wrong because they're really nice people. So I did the speech, then I got back to the airport, and when I tried to get back into America, Casey and I had been in and out of America so many times that it just looked sus. Looked like I don't know, I'm trafficking drugs or something. I don't know. Like, why is this guy leaving for one day and coming back all the time?
Yeah.
They blackmarked me and sent me back to South Africa.
The U.S. government.
Yeah, in Ireland though. So like the person there. Like,
So they basically blocked you from coming into the United States.
yeah, and when you get like a block, you have to answer a question every time before going into the country if you've ever been barred before, and you'll never get back in. So then I knew like every time I have to get an O1 visa, which is pretty difficult process to go through and whatever. And yeah, so I knew that it would take a while to get an O1 again, like 6 or 7 months. So I had to make money, and I wasn't ready. I phoned the old production company that I worked for, and I was like, "Yo, I'm back." And they're like, "No, you're not." And you're gonna have to pitch with other directors now. You're like, nobody knows who you are. No one cares, you know. So I was like, I'm gonna try this YouTube thing out, and I had like a few 100,000 subscribers from Casey made this video. He was like, "Go subscribe to Dan." Then yeah, I got this manager.
Yeah.
And like then I got an offer from SeatGeek for $15,000, dude, to make a video.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What's the catch?" Like, no, just make a video for your channel, and you gotta say this shit in your video. So I spent the entire $15,000 making the video. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't believe it. I kept like a smidgen, but I'd still had savings from when I was a traditional film director. I existed the whole time through the Casey thing with that money as well. I made a promise to myself that I won't do a lot of brand deals. Like a year later, every video is a brand deal. I was like, what's the point of making a video if I'm not going to be able to earn money making a video?
I feel like that's a merging of your two worlds. Being an ad role and being on YouTube.
Yeah, and so I started.
Chết rồi, mình phải đi có việc rồi các bạn ạ. Hôm nay mới sẽ là một nửa, mai sẽ không, mình sẽ chủ nhật mình sẽ xem tiếp ở buổi sau. Xin lỗi nhé, xin lỗi, đi đây, bye bye, có việc.